أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Surah 67, Al-Mulk. Title: The term Al-Mulk, dominion, features in the opening verse of this surah and constitutes its title. Period of revelation. There is no authentic report about its date of revelation. However, it is fairly evident from its contents and style that it must have been revealed in the early Meccan phase. Subject matter and themes. On the one hand, this surah introduces the teachings of Islam concisely, and, on the other, it eloquently warns the very negligent. The early Meccan surahs often deal with the main articles of Islamic faith and the purpose behind the Prophet Muhammad's mission, peace be upon him. All this is stated briefly rather than at length, with a view to persuading the addressees in such a way that they may grasp these truths gradually. The focus is on waking up the negligent, prompting them to reflect and appealing to their conscience. The opening 5 verses aim to make man realize that the universe he inhabits is a well-organized and stable empire. Were he to look for any flaw or shortcoming in its workings, he could not find one. It is God who has brought it into being out of nothingness, and it is He who exercises absolute power and authority over its functioning and control. His power is boundless. Man is also told that he has not been created in vain. He has been sent to this world as a test or trial, and only his good conduct will help him pass it. Verses 6 to 11 describe graphically the horrible consequences of unbelief that man faces in the hereafter. Mankind is informed that God has sent down His messengers to warn them in this world against unbelief's horrible consequences. If they do not listen to the messengers and do not mend their ways, they will have to acknowledge in the hereafter that they deserve the punishment meted out to them. Verses 12 to 14 testify to the truth that God as Creator is not ignorant of the condition of His creatures. He knows full well all that man declares and conceals, including the innermost thoughts and feelings in his mind and heart. Therefore, the first and foremost moral principle is that man should shun all evil out of the fear of God, regardless of whether he might be caught or not for his evil by any worldly authority, or whether he might face a loss on account of not committing a misdeed. Those who fear God in this sense will attain deliverance and a great reward in the hereafter. Verses 15 to 23 draw attention to the signs which man disregards as routine matters, and he is asked to reflect on these signs. Man should consider first the planet Earth on which he walks in comfort and from which he gets his food. It is God who has made the earth subservient to man. Otherwise, it may be overwhelmed at any moment by an earthquake which may destroy him completely, or a storm may deprive him of all that he has. Man should reflect on the birds flying above him, for it is God who holds them in the air. Likewise, man should consider the resources available to him. No one could save him if God were to punish him, nor could anyone restore his means of sustenance were God to withhold them. All these signs should suffice for man to realize the truth. However, he looks at these signs as the unthinking animals do, who cannot draw any inference from their observations. Man does not utilize properly his faculties of hearing, seeing, and discernment that God has endowed him with. As a result, he fails to see the straight way. Verses 24 to 27 assert that man will ultimately stand before his Lord. It is not the messenger's role to inform mankind of the exact date of the last day. His mission consists in warning man about it beforehand. If man refuses to believe in the messenger and insists on witnessing the last day with his own eyes, he courts his own destruction, for when it arrives, it will be too late to embrace faith. On that day, man will be told that this is what he asked to be done. Verses 28 to 29 refute the allegations of the Meccan unbelievers against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions. They used to curse the Prophet, peace be upon him, and pray for his and the believers' destruction. They are told that whatever befalls him will not change their fate. They should rather consider what will protect them from God's penalty. They consider the believers to be in error, but soon they will realize it is they who are astray. Finally, they are asked to ponder the question that if the water on which their lives depends in the deserts of Arabia were to sink down into the depths of the earth and disappear, then who other than God could restore this lifeline to them?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate.
تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير.
Blessed is he in whose hand is the dominion of the universe, and who has power over everything.
1. Tabaraka is a superlative from Barakat. Barakat comprehends the meanings of exaltation and greatness, abundance and plentiful, permanence and multiplicity of virtues and excellences. When the superlative Tabaraka is formed from it, it gives the meaning that Allah is infinitely noble and great. He is superior to everything beside himself in his essence and attributes and works. His beneficence is infinite, and his excellences are permanent and everlasting. For further explanation, see N. 43 of Surah Al-Araf, E.N. 1-4 of Surah Al-Mu'minun, E.N.S. 1 and 19 of Surah Al-Furqan. 2. As the word Al-Mulk has been used, it cannot be taken in any limited meaning. Inevitably, it would imply sovereignty over everything that exists in the universe. In whose hand is the dominion does not mean that he has physical hands, but that he is possessor of all power and authority, and no one else has any share in it. 3. That is, he can do whatever he wills. Nothing can frustrate or hinder him from doing what he pleases,
or to prevent him from doing what he wills.
الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور.
Who created death and life, that he might try you as to which of you is better indeed. He is the most mighty, the most forgiving.
4. That is, the object of giving life to man in the world and causing his death is to test him to see which of them is best in deeds. Allusion has been made in this brief sentence to a number of truths. 1. That life and death are given by Allah. No one else can grant life nor cause death. 2. That neither the life nor the death of a creation like man, which has been given the power to do both good and evil, is purposeless. The Creator has created him in the world for the test. Life is for him the period of the test, and death means that the time allotted for the test has come to an end. 3. That for the sake of this very test the Creator has given every man an opportunity for action, so that he may do good or evil in the world and practically show what kind of a man he is. 4. That the Creator alone will decide who has done good or evil. It is not for us to propose a criterion for the good and the evil deeds but for Almighty Allah. Therefore, whoever desires to get through the test will have to find out what is the criterion of a good deed in his sight. Every person will be recompensed according to his deeds, for if there was no reward or punishment the test would be meaningless. 5. This has two meanings and both are implied here. 1. That he is almighty. In spite of being dominant over all his creatures, he is merciful and forgiving for them, not tyrannous and cruel. 2. That he has full power to punish the evildoers. No one can escape his punishment. But he is forgiving for him who feels penitent, refrains from evil and asks for his forgiveness.
الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور.
Who created the seven heavens, one upon another. You will see no incongruity in the Merciful One's creation. Turn your vision again. Can you see any flaw?
6. For explanation, see N. 34 of Surah Al-Baqarah, E. N. 2 of Surah Al-Ra'd, en. 8 of Surah Al-Hijr, en. 113 of Surah Al-Hajj, en. 15 of Surah Al-Mu'minun, en. 5 of Surah As-Safat, en. 90 of Surah Al-Mu'min. 7. Literally, tafawut is disproportion, two things being out of accord and in disagreement with each other. So, the divine words mean, you will not see any indiscipline, any disorder and discordance anywhere in the universe. There is nothing disjointed and out of proportion in this world created by Allah. All its parts are well connected and in perfect harmony and coordination. 8. The word futur means a crack, rift, fissure, or a thing's being split and broken. The verse means to say that the whole universe is so closely well knit, and everything in it, from a particle on the earth to the huge galaxies, so well connected and coherent that the continuity of the system of the universe seems to break nowhere, however hard one may try to probe and investigate. For further explanation see N. 8 of Surah Kaf. 9.
ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير.
Then turn your vision again, and then again. In the end, your vision will come back to you, worn out and frustrated.
وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ.
We have adorned the lower heavens with lamps and have made them a means to drive away the Satans. We have prepared for them the chastisement of the blazing fire.
The world's heaven, the stars and planets of which can be seen with the naked eye. The objects beyond that which can be seen only through telescopes are the distant heaven, and the heavens still farther away are those which have not yet been seen even with telescopes. 10. The word masabi in the original has been used as a common noun, and therefore, automatically gives the meaning of the lamps being splendid and glorious. It means, we have not created this universe dark, dismal and desolate, but have beautified and decorated it with stars, the glory and grandeur of which at night strike man with amazement. 11. This does not mean that the stars themselves are pelted at the Satans, nor that the meteorites shoot out only to drive away the Satans, but it means that the countless meteorites which originate from the stars and wander in space at tremendous speeds and which also fall to the earth in a continuous shower prevent the Satans of the earth from ascending to the heavens. Even if they try to ascend heavenward, these meteorites drive them away. This thing has been mentioned here because the Arabs believed about the soothsayers, and this also was the claim made by the soothsayers themselves, that the Satans were under their control, or that they had a close contact with them, and through them they received news of the unseen, and thus could foretell the destinies of the people. That is why at several places in the Quran, it has been stated that there is absolutely no possibility for the Satans ascending to the heavens and bringing news of the unseen. For explanation see Nas 9-12 of Surah Al-Hijr, Nas 6-7 of Surah As-Safat. As for the truth about meteorites, man's information in this regard is still without a scientific basis. However, the theory which seems best to account for all the facts known today and the information gathered from the examination of the meteorites fallen on the earth, is that meteorites originate from the disintegration of one or more planets and wander in space and sometimes fall to the earth under its gravitational pull. See Encyclopedia Britannica Vol. 15, under Meteorites.
وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ.
The chastisement of hell awaits those who disbelieve in their Lord. What a wretched destination.
12. That is, the fate of all those, whether men or Satans, who disbelieve in their Lord. For the explanation of the meaning of disbelieving in the Lord, Rab. C. and 161 of Surah Al-Baqarah, and 178 of Surah An-Nisa, and 39 of Surah Al-Kahf, and 3 of Surah Al-Mu'min.
إِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا سَمِعُوا لَهَا شَهِيقًا وَهِيَ تَفُورُ.
When they will be cast into it, they will hear it roar as it boils.
13. The word shahiq is used for producing a cry like the donkey's braying. The sentence may also mean that it could be the sound of hell itself, as well as that it would be the sound coming from hell, where the people already flung into it would be screaming and crying. This second meaning is supported by Surah Hud, Ayat 106, where it has been said, "Therein they will pant and hiss, because of thirst." And the first meaning is confirmed by Surah Al-Furqan, Ayat 12, which says, "When the hell will see them from afar, they will hear the sounds of its raging and roaring." On this basis, the correct meaning is that it would be the noise made both by hell and by the dwellers of hell.
تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير.
As though it will burst with rage. Every time a multitude is cast into it, its keepers will ask them, "Did no warner come to you?"
14. The real nature of this question will not be of a question that the keepers of hell would like to ask them whether a warner from Allah had come to them or not, but the object would be to make them realize that no injustice had been done to them by casting them into hell. They would try to make them confess that Allah had not kept them uninformed and unwarned. He had sent the prophets to them. He had informed them of the truth and of the right way. He had warned them that if they followed a way other than the right way, it would lead them to hell, in which they had been cast. But they had not listened to the prophets. Hence, they rightly deserved the punishment which was being meted out to them at that time. This thing has been pointed out over and over again in the Quran, that the test for which Allah has sent man in the world is not being conducted by keeping man absolutely unaware and uninformed of the requirements of the test only to see whether he found the right way by himself or not. But Allah has made the most appropriate arrangements that could possibly be made of guiding him to the right way. And it is that He has raised the prophets and sent down the books. Now the test of man lies in this, whether he accepts the prophets and the books brought by them and adopts the straight way, or turns away from them to follow his own desires, wishes and speculations. Thus, the prophethood, in fact, is Allah's argument which He has established against man, and his entire future life depends on its acceptance or rejection. No one, after the appointment of the prophets, can present the excuse that he remained unaware of the truth, or that he has been caught and put to the hard test unawares, or that he is being punished while he was innocent. This theme has been presented in many different ways in the Quran. For instance, see Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayat 213, and E.N. 230, Surah An-Nisa, Ayats 41 to 42,165 and E.N.S. 64 and 208, Surah Al-An'am, Ayats 130 to 131 and E.N.S. 98 to 100, Surah Bani Israel, Ayat 15 and E.N. 17, Surah Taha, Ayat 134, Surah Al-Qasas, Ayats 47, 59, 65 and E.N.S. 66, 83, Surah Fatir, Ayat 37, Surah Al-Mu'min, Ayat 50 and E.N. 66.
قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير.
They will say, "Yes, a warner came to us, but we gave the lie to him and said, Allah has revealed nothing. You are surely in huge error."
15. That is, not only you but the people who have believed in and followed you also are misguided and lost in grave error.
وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ.
They will say, "If we had only listened and understood, we would not be among the inmates of the blazing fire."
16. If we had listened or understood, if we had listened to the prophets with attention as seekers after truth, or used our intellect to understand what actually was the message they were presenting before us. Here listening has been given priority over understanding, the reason being that the prerequisite of obtaining guidance is to listen to what the prophet teaches, or to read if it is in the written form, like a seeker after truth. To ponder over it in an attempt to understand the truth is secondary. Without the Prophet's guidance, man cannot by himself reach the truth directly by using his intellect and common sense.